Hi, I'm here with Silvia Brandi. As head of Atlas of the Future, Silvia enjoys raising the value of the people and projects building a better future all over the world. She's part of FarmLab, a functioning farm that is also a fabrication laboratory, equipped with digital and traditional machines situated in a rural part of the province in Styria in southeast Austria. She describes herself as a creative and inclusive leader with an optimistic and goal-oriented attitude. She's interested in value-driven organizations and projects with a positive impact on the society. And within the Shemakes project, Silvia is an advisor. And Shemakes is a European project which also receives the funding from the EU. And it really focuses on empowering female innovators of the sustainable fashion industry through inspiration, skills, and networks. And I got to know Silvia through this project. And what I really enjoy about you, Silvia, and we will speak more about that in a minute, is really actually your career path, that you started off in one, let's say, industry and really kind of moved, but that the values were always very clear in all the choices you made. I'm Ista Boszhard, co-founder of WAAG's Textile Lab Amsterdam and a project partner in the Shemakes project. Last thing also about Shemakes Voices. This is the last one of a series of live interviews with leading women in the field of sustainable clothing, fashion and textiles. And the other interviews can be found online on the YouTube channel of Shemakes. And please, if you have any questions for Silvia, feel free to comment and we'll try to get your question also live in. With Silvia, we will talk about your career path, as I said, your view on the textile and clothing industry, the relation between innovation and tradition, and the importance of narratives and storytelling. So my first question, actually, Silvia, to you is, can you tell something about your career path, how you kind of started, and what you're doing now?
So, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Insta, for the invitation. So, career path. Yeah, I must say I had a quite elaborated career path, so to say, because I'm an architect. I studied architecture, and I've been working as an architect for some years through Milan and Barcelona. Actually, that's the reason that brought me to Barcelona. And then I start collaborating with the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, the WAAG. And probably that also was, I started to feel that I had to amplify the impact of what I was doing. So it's not only to build, a proper building, but I was seeing the field, the industry of education as a way to amplify impact, forming other people towards sustainable design, to make them to have a ripple effect on towards a better world. And I've been there for 7 years. Actually, I have cycles of 7 years in different roles. And then I started collaborating at the head as a director of Atlas of the Future, which is an online platform that features the projects from all over the world that are creating a better impact, that are solving through creativity and innovation one of the world's challenges. So it's like an atlas, as the name says, where we map all these innovation stories. And and since you mentioned the value of the stories, so we're actually storytellers to change the narrative of this broken world, to propose a different narrative, to inspire people to take action and to actually make a change. And in parallel of this, I'm also running this farm in Austria, because I'm living between Barcelona and the countryside of Austria, where we try to put in practice some of the principles of self-sufficiency as learned in the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, and some of the inspiration and projects that I've been meeting through the explorations of the Atlas of the Future. So it's like a small sustainable farm where we develop research for the application of innovation in the countryside.
And if I'm not mistaken, so you're trained as an architect, but now let's say you focus on Atlas of the Future and the farm, or FarmLab. Is that, would you say that is not the formal education? So did you feel like it's kind of also just exploring? How did you prepare for also working or setting up FarmLab?
Yeah, I have to say that the education of so being an architect is like a way of looking at the world, which is something that I just kept applying in different fields. You know, how to solve a problem, how to set up a project, how to envision a solution through design thinking. So I think that my education helped me to think in a certain way, and then I followed my passion and my purpose to apply it applying it in different fields.
And besides more kind of the skills or the approach, what if you look at the different work that you did, do you also see a similarity when it comes to values that drove you? You already spoke a little bit about like having impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The value are and have been fundamental to me. Actually, probably it has been one of the reasons why I stepped away from architecture. I didn't find it value-driven enough, you know, because, well, I found out that you have to be very egoistic to be a good architect. Is something that kind of goes along. And yeah, I was not feeling so comfortable with that. And so, yeah, the idea of having an impact and leaving the world better than as you found it, as a good boy scout as I was as well. So it's kind of what I'm applying, because, and it's also the impact now, because both through the WAAG and through the Atlas of the Future, the idea is to inspire other people to have a bigger effect. No? So because the Atlas of the Future is a communication platform, no? It's telling stories, and the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia is an educational institution. And whereas with the FarmLab, really the idea is to applying it. It's the first project on which really I'm wrapping up my sleeves and make the change happen, even if in a smaller scale.
And could you take us with you a little bit to the FarmLab? Can you describe what it looks like, how it functions?
All right. So the FarmLab, as I said, is a farm, and well, as you said, is a farm and a lab at the same time. So it's a farm because it was a farm, and we have a small flock of sheep, and we grow vegetables. We have century-old apple trees that we make juices from. So we do, like, we've been starting also a small mushroom production. So we've been, you know, starting up small projects farm related. And but it's also a lab, because it's a part of the FabLab network, and is an equipped laboratory for fabrication, digital and traditional fabrication. And this is actually a bit the crossover we are interested at now, to get the most out of tradition with the input of innovation, to find new solutions that can actually be applied in the countryside. Seeing the countryside as a great source of inspiration and of solutions. Nowadays, we are talking about things like sharing economy. That is something that is so natural in a farm. Normally the farmers they don't own all the tractors or all the equipment. They just own them collectively, and they share them.
Yeah.
Or the self-sufficiency also. I mean, WAAG built an empire around this concept, and you know, in a farm is obvious now to have water from the well, the energy from the sun through solar panels, and the heating through the biomass heating system that we have shared with the neighbors, that is powered by our forest. And everyone obviously has a forest, you know, because since you have to build things in the country, like every year. Now we are in the roof phase. Every year we are renewing one of the roof of the farm. So this implies, you know, having managed the forest to get the the trees that are suffering because of the climate change, to harvest them, to process them, and to use them in the build of the new roof. So everything makes so much sense. And all of this set of relation is something that we kind of lost in living in the city, where everything is disconnected. Whereas in the countryside, everything is connected, and it has to be like that. It cannot be the other way around. So I think we have so much to learn.
That was actually also one of my questions. If suddenly running a farm or like a lab, if it also changed your perspective on the change that is needed, or your let's say view on innovation that is needed. Because you already mentioned a few things that are actually maybe very common for the people living there already, but maybe for the people in the city it's kind of new. So it's funny that innovation almost seems going back to what we used to, or how do you see that?
Yeah, pretty much as you said. I mean, there is a lot of innovation that is reconnecting with tradition that have always been there. And all the social innovation, for example, as the sharing economy has said, or the circular economy, the fact that in the countryside there is nothing such a waste. Now you recycle, upcycle, and reuse everything. And so, but I think on the other side that we are in a very nice moment. You know, we are paying attention to this. We are more receptive to these kind of solutions. And so I think that there is a very good moment, both from the city side of life, because there is a coming back to the craft and to this interest. But there is also a very great opportunity for the countryside that is having all access to new technologies and new knowledge that is something relatively new. I mean, our network in the countryside barely use internet, and it's starting now. So imagine this connection, what can cause. So I think it's a very interesting moment for both the cities that are looking at the countryside with a sweeter eye, and the countryside that is discovering all the innovation that can come from a broader network.
Yeah, so you really see those two coming together actually in the lab. You're kind of the in-between or the translator.
That's what we are trying to pursue.
Yeah, that's great.
In the lab, yeah.
And because of course you spoke about architecture, and this project is all about textiles and clothing and fashion. How do you relate to that industry or working with textiles?
Yeah, well, I can enter to this from two sides. On one side, in the Atlas of the Future, so we address all a series of problems or solution, better said, from around the world in all fields, and among those, obviously, also the problem of fashion. So we have in the Atlas of the Future, we have all a collection of solutions to the fashion industry that they go from social solutions, so identify projects like a fashion revolution, for example, just to mention one, that are actually rethinking our relation with the producers, and how to change this relation with the workers or the people that actually make your clothes. But also we have solution based on innovation that can be from design innovation, from the shoes that grow with the kids, the shoes that grow, so that are by design from Kenya, by design that are shoes that just grow with the kids, very interesting. Or innovation in material, from Mycotex, which is a fabric out of mycelium that grows around the body, or the We Are Poor, which is a project from Barcelona that is a new material capable to cap CO2. And also the role of media, because I mean, since the Atlas itself is a media, so it's also exploring the role of media within fashion. And so how can you change the storytelling in fashion? So we, for example, since we are all the Atlas is project-based, for example, we've been talking about a platform called Display Copy, which is a magazine where all the dress shown are used, are vintage or upcycled. And the same, another magazine that this time is printed that is called More or Less, again, is not about the newest, the better, but how can you upcycle and reuse, or even a very nice event called Junk Couture, which is a high couture competition where all the designers are making clothes out of junk. So all this idea to rethink fashion and our relation with fashion, how we think, our relation with the producers, with the materials, with our way of wearing. There is also a very nice project called Snake from Croatia. That is from Croatia? Yeah, from Croatia. That is about how we wear, because actually since people just wear clothes to take a picture in Instagram, well, you wear them virtually. So you don't really wear them, but you just can wear anything you want, but it's just in pixel. So rethinking all our relations. So sorry, this is the entrance in fashion through the, through the Atlas of the Future, so change the narrative. And our interest in fashion through the FarmLab is because, well, we have sheep there. And I remember the first time one of the first time I was there, I was saying, oh, wow, so cool, sheep, so cute. And what do you do with the wool? Because of course, when you have sheep, you have to share them every year, at least once, no? So what do you do? And I realized they were throwing it away. And without knowing, I just discovered the big problem of wool in Europe now, because what they were doing at the farm was what most of the farm having sheep are doing in Europe. And so I couldn't believe that. And so we started looking in depth into this. And we actually found a mill in the area, which is normally the difficult part, not to find the mill, who was able to process the wool. And so we had our first batch of 0 kilometer wool. So this has been just a small change. And then we made all the process of a small farm that found itself with the problem and overcome it. So these are like the two entry in the Shemakes problem, the Shemakes project from my side.
And you're also researching natural dyes, right? If I'm not mistaken, connected to textiles and the wool and.
Yeah, because wool is an amazing material, so it makes you get curious. What can you do? Can you weave it? Can you felt it? Can you everything you can do with it? You would probably get into it, and so we get into natural dyes as well with the same logic of foraging dyes, so or growing the plants that would color our wool. So we both like to color with indigo, that we have a small plantation of indigo, and with bark, because it's a material that is available 0 kilometer all during the whole year. Because indigo, if you dye with fresh indigo, you would do that just in summer. So yeah, but everything in the same logic. Now you have something like in front of the door. How can you process it through understanding how to do it to make your material more interesting or in more variety?
Yeah, and also again, kind of reconnecting the pieces in the chain. If I also think of the mill, or to just look at the local ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And to go back to what you mentioned, some of the examples. Why is it so important to showcase these examples? Because you spoke about storytelling. Do you see the effect, or what's? Yeah, can you say a bit more?
One of the ideas behind the Atlas that inspired the creation of the Atlas is a quote from Noam Chomsky that says that optimism is a tool for a better future, because unless you believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and make it happen. So the idea of spreading optimism as a form of activism, so if you make people believe that there is a solution and the things can be different and better, you are already planting that seed that will make people actually take action. So in this sense, the changing the storytelling is not just something we do because it's beautiful, but it's something we do as a form of activism to really provoke a change in people's mind, because what you believe is what is going to happen. What you tell yourself is what makes who you are. So in this perspective, we believe that communication and storytelling is crucial in everything.
Yeah, and what I also enjoy when I look at all these projects is that kind of they're from all over the world, but together they weave a new narrative and a specific kind of values. So
we
it's just confirming.
We actually have like 4 criteria for a project to be an Atlas project. Yeah, yes, they are nicely thought. So the project has to be real. So it cannot be a research or something you will do. So it has to be ongoing. It has to be innovative. So it has to solve a problem in a way that has never done before. No? So this point of creativity. Real, innovative. It has to be have a long-term vision. So it's not like an exposition would not be an Atlas project. It has to be something that with an intention of lasting in time, and they have to have a positive impact, no matter if small or big. So actually also it's nice that sometimes you have a super tiny project, brilliant, that is just having an effect on its own community, and sometimes you have like a huge engineeristic project, still brilliant, with a huge impact. So the impact is not a differentiating point by itself, but there has to be an impact. So with these 4 criteria, you see that makes nice. This collection.
Because you see they have things in common, even if they're completely different. So
yeah.
And I was also wondering, because of course in the Shemakes project we often talk about sustainability. I mean, we speak about impact. You also mentioned how will it be in the future. So what is actually your take on sustainability, or how do you see sustainability?
Well, I like a lot the official definition of the sustainable development. I think it's a definition from the 80s that says that is the sustainable development is is responding to the current needs without compromising the future generation to respond to theirs, not to meet their needs. So I find interesting this putting ourselves in the flow of time and generation, that at the end of the day, we are not alone and there is more generation to come. And also the fact that at the end of the day, sustainability is a kind of human-centered concept, because the Earth can go on perfectly without us, but it's really about our own survival. In any case, sustainability is something I find should be so obvious as not, hitting people in the street. Should be that level of obvious, something that you do because, of course, you do it.
Yeah.
So we should start taking it that seriously.
Yeah, it's almost like childlike questions, right? Like, where does the garbage go if I put it in the trash? I mean, it's that kind of way of thinking almost. Like, how does it work?
Yeah, but we really need also a lot of knowledge to understand all the process, how everything is interconnected. That's why the countryside makes it more visible, how everything is interconnected. In the city is more difficult to understand these hidden relations.
Yeah, it's indeed more hidden, as you say. And I go back also to thinking of how you're trained and the things you're exploring now. What would you advise also people entering this field, or how to get this education or experience?
Well, I think that people should stay curious. That's the main thing, because you have solution, you have information, you have interesting network everywhere, but you have to be wanting to find in them. So, and in my case, my education, my training that has been in architecture was, an instrumental training that got me used to think in a certain way that turned out to be useful. So I think that it's very important to get trained, but to also get prepared to anything can present to yourself in your path life. Now, because it's gonna be harder and harder to forecast the opportunities ahead, and so it's much more important to be adaptable than to be prepared for a certain specific thing. So sometimes the two things go one against the other. No, you're convinced you're gonna be a certain profile, and you might miss opportunities on the way that if you had a more wide and open vision you would have noticed and taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's about follow your instinct, your passion, and your curiosity, and don't be afraid to make changes, because
Every 7
sometimes
years.
that's the only way to discover whether the opportunities are worth it or not.
And is there something at the moment, of course, you're exploring a lot already also at FarmLab, but is there something appearing now, something new you need to dissect and investigate?
I missed you for a moment. The connection was bad. I'm afraid I missed the question.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's something coming up at the moment for you that you feel like, oh, this is something new I need to learn. Of course, you spoke already also about the wool, but is there something else that's appearing now that you need to dive into?
Well, I'm gonna be a mother, so now I'm really much into these topics. Of course, it's an incredible learning process ahead, and I'm super excited. And I see it like that, like something new to learn, like a new adventure. And of course, it's also something is giving us a different and deeper sense to what I'm doing, and probably confirming that I'm right, or that I'm, trust or following my I would say your real personality and real values.
Yeah, and thinking of indeed the generations that come after us. Yeah, I feel like saying telling the audience, I knew already. But yeah.
You're tricky.
No, because I didn't, I didn't react so surprised, like, yeah. Last question, because of course Shemakes is also really about enabling women, and I was just wondering if there's something, because of course you're here also as an example, let's say. So is there something you want to tell other women that actually maybe want to make this change, also maybe want to step it up or have a leading position? Is there something you want to tell them to support, or how do you see that? Because it can be a tricky topic, of course, how how things can change and how more women can be in leading positions and paving the way forward.
Yeah, well, I can say that I love to be a woman, and I feel that also professionally I take the full advantage of it. So I never felt it like something that was prejudicating me, but totally the opposite. So I think that we should wear our gender with pride, and because a lot of also the gender discrimination comes from the perspective of it. If you feel that you feel discriminated, well, automatically you are discriminated. Actually, it happened to me just once to receive from someone in a higher position like a total how do you call it, sexist comment, but I didn't receive it as an insult to me, but rather something that was representing the people I had in front. No, so if someone is more that talking about the people who have this idea, rather than putting me in a position on which I was not. So it's really about the perception, and so I invite women to embrace their female leading roles, because I mean, of course, I think that the women are the best leader ever. I'm totally convinced in that, and so I invite people to owe it. So it's really something that we should do without fear, because I don't know, probably it's something not even good to say, no, that women are better leaders. I don't know. It's surely not politically correct, but I mean, that's how I feel it. And I think that women should embody and feel empowered for having all the points to be amazing leaders.
Yeah, thanks so much. I almost need to kind of hold myself a little bit to not say a lot about this topic, because I think it's really nice last words. So thank you so much for the interview and the things you shared with us, and good luck also with all the things coming up. Very exciting. So thanks so much. And for the audience,
thank you to you, Ista, to the audience, and to the Shemakes project.
Yeah, and you can find more information on shemakes.eu.